We start our lesson with the topic 1, Energy Flow and Ecosystem. An ecosystem is a community made up of living organisms and non-living components such as air, water, and mineral soil. The ecosystem required energy for its continuity on the Earth. Sun is the main energy source of the ecosystem, at which solar energy is provided by the sun. The green plants on the Earth absorb solar energy to carry out photosynthesis. And, through the photosynthesis, food is made. When the primary consumer eat the green plants, or the fruit, the chemical energy stored in the plants is transferred to them, and then to secondary consumers, and lastly to the tertiary consumers. This energy transfer from the green plant to tertiary is called food chain. Now, we will detail the food chain in this section. A food chain is the feeding relationship between living organisms in a habitat of the ecosystem. In an ecosystem of the Earth, the living organisms are classified into two groups. The first group is producer. The second group is consumer. About the producer. Green plants is the producer that produces its own food through photosynthesis. The consumer is the organism that eats other organisms. There are three types of consumer: primary, secondary, and tertiary consumers. Primary consumer is the organism that eats the producer. Grasshopper is the example of the primary consumer, which only consume the plants as its food. Secondary consumers are omnivores and carnivores that eat the primary consumers. The secondary consumers, it eats a grasshopper and corn. Tertiary consumers are carnivores that eat secondary consumers. For example, the eagle is tertiary consumers, it eats birds. At the end of the food chain, the producers and consumers will die, and their dead body will be decomposed by decomposer into simpler materials or nutrients. This interaction is known as saprophytism. Now, we talk about the food web. A food web is a combination of a few food chains. In the food web, energy is transferred from one organism to another organism. When the energy is transferring from one to another, half of the energy is lost. Because organisms use the energy to carry out the life process, like respiration and reproduction. And some are lost into the form and chemical energy. This is the full explanation of topic 1, energy flow and ecosystem. This is the topic 2, nutrient cycle in an ecosystem. An ecosystem is a community made up of living organisms and non-living components, such as air, water, and mineral soil. The ecosystem involves energy transferring from one organism to another. This energy transfer happens in the food chain, which eventually leads to the nutrients being returned to the environment by the decomposer to be reused. This energy transfer is called nutrient cycle, at which the non-organic chemical elements, including mineral source in the soil, water, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and carbon dioxide, are in the cycle loop. This nutrient cycle is attached with water and carbon-oxygen cycle. How the water cycle, influenced by living thing life activity, is as following. In the photosynthesis process, plants absorb water through its root and release back the water to the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. Through the transpiration, water catchment area is formed in the forest that is filled with plants. Animals and humans drink water and return water to environment through urination, respiration, and perspiration. How the carbon-oxygen cycle, influenced by living thing life activity, is as following. During photosynthesis process, plants absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen. During respiration, animals absorb oxygen and release carbon dioxide. During the decomposition of the dead organization by fungus bacteria, oxygen is absorbed, and carbon dioxide is released. In this section, we talk about steps to solve interference to nutrient cycle. The nutrient cycle of the ecosystem has been interrupted by human activities, such as excessive forest cutting, excessive burning of fossil fuels, and the excessive use of water. These issues can be overcome with the following countermeasure: law enforcement, conducting campaigns, increase awareness of the public. This is the example of human activity that interrupt the nutrient cycle, and ways to overcome. The first is excessive logging. With excessive logging, carbon dioxide will increase in atmosphere. Oxygen will decrease in atmosphere. Depletion of water area. To overcome the issue, we may control the logging activity by giving license. Replant the trees. Law enforcement to the illegal logging activity. About the excessive burning of fossil fuel. Excessive burning of fossil fuel can result the carbon dioxide increase in atmosphere. To overcome the issue, we can encourage public to use public transport. Carpooling. Use unleaded petrol. Use renewable energy. About overconsuming of water. Overconsuming of water will decrease water supply. To overcome the issue, we can use water according to the need. Store rainwater for daily use. This is the full explanation of Topic 2, Nutrient Cycle in an Ecosystem.